in storming into the building, into the hotels, siege the car, stop the traffic, and search in the car and try to hurt the people. That is clear violation of citizen right.
And so
that is clear violation of the Constitution.
And so meeting violence with violence was the only way?
It's not only way, but if you look at the government try to use the soft stance for how long. We as a citizen, we look at that issue and we think it is a time to use the force to disperse, but we do not call for the military or use the rifle to shoot the people, and we do not know that yet at this time. Why don't we let this incident settle down and found the committee and investigate what actually happened in Thailand like now? This is a hearsay situation. We all live outside the country. A lot of things have been going on in Thailand. We have not known the truth yet. So don't jump to conclusion too quick that the military shoot into the cloud or a lot of people die. Let this finish this, put the law and order into the government hand, stop the situation, and then come down to the table and talk.
Okay,
and set up the committee, investigate it.
Let's bring in Zachary Abuza, who's waiting over in Boston. Maybe you can also give us a bit of background to the situation. When you look at the protests now, the red shirt protests, and you compare it to the yellow shirt protests in November, which were, you could say, successful and a lot more peaceful. What's the difference? Why is the level of anger, and it really is anger on the streets, why is it so much higher this time around and such higher levels of violence?
Well, I have to agree with Professor Onkaporn about this. The fact is that in December 2007, the Thai-Rak Thai's reincarnation won 57% of the vote. They should have formed the government, and what you saw in 2008 was a reversal of democracy. The judiciary became completely politicized and kept on issuing rulings against the incumbent government. They threw out a prime minister on very shaky grounds. They threw out another one. They banned the party for a second time. And I didn't see the, such condemnation of our last speaker when the People's Alliance for Democracy were taking over the airport in Bangkok and took over the Prime Minister's office for 2 months. It seems to be they're willing to accept mob violence when it's in their favor. This is a real tragedy that they've had to put truth.
That's not true, sir.
It's absolutely true. It is absolutely true that the People's Alliance for Democracy took over the government house for 2 months. For 2 months, they took over the airport. I'm sorry that you cannot deny those facts, that they took over those buildings.
Can you tell me any incident in the airport that anyone get hurt from this?
I'm not saying violence, but I'm not saying violence, but it was
why the yellow shirt have to take over the airport?
It was.
You have to go back to the cause of it. Over 193 days that the yellow shirts protest on the street.
There's nothing legal about taking over an airport.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to jump in here
just
only
because. On that
point,
but we have to come. I agree with you on that point. We have to come to the table to sit down. The Constitution gives the right to the people without having organic law to support what boundary of the protest. We have to come to the table to sit down and talk. How are we going to settle this issue? You need to come up with the law to support this. You cannot use the traffic violation or other kind of law to stop the Constitution. Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
Okay, Mr. Bunjab, I'm going to jump in.
Why don't we sit down on the table and draft the law? Hey, this is the boundary that you can protest.
Sir, if you wouldn't mind, please. We've got 3 guests, and I would like to let some of them have something to say as well. Zachary Abuza, just a quick reply from you before I go back to Ji Ungpakorn.
The Constitution is clearly the supreme law in the land, and we must understand that after the military coup in September 2006, it was rewritten, and it was rewritten in many ways to try to prevent a return of the Thai-Rak Thai. They tied the party's hands behind their backs, and yet they were still able to win a majority of the vote. That's democracy. And the monarchists and the military and some of the Democrats never accepted that. And I think that it's just set the country on a path. Right now, they definitely have to sit down and talk, but the only way you're really going to get somewhere is if you drop the charges against the former Prime Minister Thaksin, invite him back to the country, because he's the only person who is actually able to turn off the demonstrations right now and have a return to civility.
Okay, quick thought from G. Ungpakorn before we head to the break. Because one of the demands of the red shirts is, of course, the fresh elections. I'm wondering, though, if there were fresh elections in Thailand, would it not just give rise to the whole problem again and start the cycle all over again?
Well, I think that the issue about elections is we have to ask the question, under what rules will they be held? If they are held under the rules that were dictated by the military, then they won't be free and fair elections. But if free and fair elections were held, Thaksin's party would win again, but it wouldn't solve the problem immediately, because the yellow shirts are not prepared to respect the democratic wishes of the people. I mean, if you listen to the rantings of the yellow shirt representative, he seems to believe that a government has the right to shoot down protesters in the streets. Well, most international governments do not believe that they have the right to do that. And I think that this really represents the arrogance and the total lack of commitment to democracy from the yellow shirts.
Gentlemen, stick around. We're going to take a break on Inside Story. When we come back, we're going to have a closer look at the current Prime Minister himself, a man not elected by the people and now apparently paying the price. We're back in a moment.